I lived on an army base where I faced a lot of hardships because of my dad's low rank. I was told repeatedly not to ask too many questions. I got sick, missed a lot of school, and had to repeat kindergarten with the same teacher who told me that I was stupid. I didn't like school and cried when I had to go. My refuge from school and my stressful home was our backyard forest. I worked hard in school to avoid my unhappiness. I eventually won a prize for my hard work and improvement called the Jungle Book. Felt good about myself. The acknowledgement boosted my confidence. I continued to find solace spending many hours in the forest and attending church on my own. I would dress up and enjoy the quiet peacefulness of the church compared to my home life and school. Now there were major turning points in my life. Our family moved and my mom left us, and Dad decided to quit the army to upgrade his skills. He wanted a better life for us. Although it was a difficult time and my dad was distraught most of the time and sad, this is when I realized that learning is a lifelong process and that there are multiple intelligence. We moved again and we were poor but happy. Witnessing my father, a single parent, return to school gave me permission to be less hard on myself with my learning. I also learned how self-esteem impacts learning, especially when my father would call himself stupid. I knew he wasn't. I also knew about the violence he experienced at school a long time ago. I valued his openness to learning. He completed his upgrading certificate equivalent to high school and pursued a bookkeeping program. We were really proud of him. After completing his program, he tried to get a bookkeeping job, but was told he was too old. Disappointed, but knowing he had to feed his kids, he settled for working at a sheet metal factory, where he worked there until he retired. My grade 10 English teacher excited me to learn and write from the heart, and always asked, why? Compared to other classes, I did quite well because I was interested. On the other hand, my grade 11 art teacher infuriated me when she told the class that gays should not be teachers. I challenged her in front of my peers and told her that she was completely wrong. I rarely studied throughout high school. I no longer wanted to be a nun. I read Simone de Beauvoir's memoirs and realized that I was a feminist. These experiences all helped me discover more about my identity. I worked at 3 unchallenging jobs. I couldn't make up my mind what to study. I quickly realized that I needed an education if I wanted to do a job that interested me. I found out about the Library Techniques program at Sheridan College, applied and got accepted. Went to Europe for 2 months, which was an amazing learning experience for me. I was also connected with my grandparents and traveled on my own. Attended college for 2 years and did well in courses that reflect my interests: environmental, women's issues, indigenous and social justice issues. Realized that I need freedom in my type of work I do. After college, I traveled to New Zealand, where I worked at a psychopedic hospital. This experience was very powerful for me. I learned about and closely worked with the Maori people, whom I felt very close to. I traveled by bike around New Zealand and Australia. Although I was aware of racism living in Barrie, I became more aware and started to question the racism in Canada, a questioning that has continued throughout my life. Constantly ill while training for a second marathon, I decided to take courses at U of T to have access to an indoor track, but quickly realized that I may need to focus on my studies to do well. Eventually had to give up on running to get better, which was difficult but allowed me to see that I can be as disciplined with my schooling as I was with my running. I discovered that I love women's studies and psychology, and I have a passion for reflecting and questioning the status quo. I could apply a lot of my learning to my work and personal life. School and work became my life. My father attended my university graduation, which took 18 years to complete part-time, and that mattered a lot to me. Shortly after graduating, I decided to attend school full-time, which made me acutely aware of my insecurities as a student. Many times I felt like an imposter. I felt emotionally awkward in the classroom, especially when encouraged to talk about myself. I wanted to hide most of the time. Because I was curious to know more about my heritage, I started to study Aboriginal philosophy. I didn't feel like an imposter there. When I started to reflect on my own school experiences and the impact of violence on learning, I started to see connections in my internalized shame of being heard and seen. I did find healing being involved in a community-based literacy program. It fostered my love for learning in a caring community concerned with social justice. Wow, I realize that I'm not stupid. In fact, I dislike that word very much. I realize that I have a lot of abilities and come to value my openness and curiosity to learn. I draw on this acceptance and self-understanding when working with others, and I value people's unique strength and gifts.